Kept doing modeling, and then the next thing I know, I became an actress here in India. But I took a complete U-turn. I didn't want to act anymore. I didn't want to be part of the industry anymore. It's an industry that if I had a child, I would be worried if my daughter wants to become part of Bollywood.
Why?
Because I used to question a lot of things in Iran. By the age of like 14, 15, I started knowing about, there is other countries and there's other places and there's other people looking different. So I was really curious to understand what is out there. And obviously, I don't know, you can call it courage, you can call it, I wanted a better life. I left with nothing, and I didn't have my family support. The industry in India is very different. It runs into who you know and who's your father and who's your family. Some people say, oh no, I'm going to become an actress, but I'm going to keep away from the other side of it. You can't. When I was sexually harassed by one of my director, yes, I went on a record on...
Mandana, hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Mumbai's Millennial Mind.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for coming here at such short notice. I think we connected yesterday. And
yes,
I was like, are you free to come today? You're like, yes, I have this short window, let's go.
Yes.
So thank you so much. No, thank you. Can you, I know a little bit about you, but for people who don't know who you are, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Mandana. I was born in Iran, in a very small city called Salve.
Okay.
I left Iran when I was 18. I started doing modeling when I was 19. Traveled all over the world and then ended up in India around 10 years ago.
Wow.
Kept doing modeling, and then the next thing I know, I became an actress here in India. So I was acting in films and doing modeling, but I took a complete U-turn 2 years ago. I didn't want to act anymore. I didn't want to be part of the industry anymore. And since 2 years, I'm back to school.
Wow.
I just finished my course at a interior design school, Marangoni, the design school, which is in Mumbai. It's an Italian school.
Okay.
So I finished my school, then I started working with a design firm, which I'm working at the moment. And I take care of the marketing, and I opened a new division in the company, which is accessories and art.
Wow.
So I source that for our clients.
Amazing. So were you a model in Iran, or where did you move to when you were 18?
Well, I moved to Dubai very briefly for a few months, and I couldn't understand the lifestyle and the way things are in another country because I never left Iran.
Wow.
And I come from a very Muslim background where it's very different. I wasn't allowed to do certain things or wear certain clothes or. As a matter of fact, being in a school where there are boys and girls, so it was really different. My life before I left Iran was very different, and I think in the beginning I was trying to figure out, oh my God, why people are not wearing anything.
Really?
Yeah, that was my first impression when I remember the flight landed in Dubai, so I was going to meet my brother in Dubai and stayed with him.
Okay.
And the first thing I was looking at people, I was like, oh, holy shit, why people look so comfortable.
No way.
And so in the beginning was a lot of confusion and is this the right choice for me? But then obviously I never wanted to live in Iran, and I wanted to come out and I wanted to figure out my life. And I think modeling happened just because I was looking for something, figuring out my life. And everyone was like, oh, you're so tall and you're so skinny and you could be a model. I was like, okay. Let's just try it out. And then, it just happened like that.
How did you get scouted? Was it in Dubai?
No, it wasn't in Dubai. So after Dubai, I went back to Iran because I couldn't handle everything. I went back to Iran for a few months. I think I was there for 3 months, but then I was like, no, I can't now do this. I'm leaving.
So at first, why did you leave Iran in the first place?
Well, there is a lot of reasons that I left. I think one reason was, I never, even now, I don't really understand how I used to think as a child, because I come from a very close kind of minded family. So there is no knowing about what's happening out there. And in today's life, like, obviously there's internet and there is a lot of access for kids, right?
Yes.
But I'm talking about when I was 5 or 6 or 10 even. You know, I always used to tell my mom that, oh, why do I have to, you know, wear the hijab or like be, you know. I used to question a lot of things in Iran. I think it was by the age of like 14, 15, I started knowing about, you know, there is other countries and there's other places and there's other people looking different. So I was really, you know, curious to understand what is out there. And obviously, I don't know, you can call it courage, you can call it, I wanted a better life. I left with nothing, and I didn't have my family support. I didn't have anyone's the support, you know, but I managed it somehow.
How did you leave? Yeah. How did you just say like, one day I'm going to Dubai with my brother?
It wasn't like that. It was a little bit of, you know, I had few friends who they, you know, used to travel outside of Iran.
Right.
Some of them, they used to stay in Dubai, or some of them were in London or America. So the story that I started hearing from them by not even being able to travel, I think that's kind of start opening up my mind, saying, there is something out of these walls, you know, I should figure out what it is. And when I think about it now, you know, those years where I didn't get my family support, I used to be really upset and like heartbroken, and like, how can they do this to me? And, you know, they should support me. But now when I think about it, because I'm older, and I think about it, that if I had a child and that child decided to leave Iran, you know, I would go crazy. Because now when I think about myself when I was, you know, 17, 18 when I left, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? And how did I do it? How did I think about, and I never studied English. Even until date, I've never gone to school and studied English. So how I picked up my English, which is horrible. The grammar is like, even still, because I still think in Farsi.
By the way.
Yeah, so I still think in Farsi, right? So I started learning English since I was like 19 when I moved out. And there was this huge struggle of not understanding the language, not knowing where to go. And it was just like, I don't know, a miracle, or I was lucky, or I was so adamant to survive. I just picked it up. And yeah, so that has been.
You mentioned you went to Dubai and you couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So you went back to Iran.
Yeah.
What couldn't you handle?
So I give you an example. A lot of people, when they come to Mumbai, you know, the culture is really strange for them.
Yes.
And they're like, oh my God, how Indian can eat like this or behave like that or say this, you know.
Correct.
Those are the things that I couldn't handle, because I was coming from such a close environment where from how you clothe, you know, how you dress, how you behave in public, or how you behave in your school, you know, it's very different, right? So for me, it was like, oh my God, this is some other planet, forget the culture, you know. And to be honest, you know, people from Iran, especially when you come from a very small family or very small city, the things are so normal, even for me now, right? There are a lot of things which are normal, but when I think about it back then, I'm like, wow, now I understand like why I was so shocked. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
It's, yeah. And now it's different, because now, you know, I'm older, you kind of find your way to navigate through things.
Of course.
Now, you know, any country that I go, most of the countries that I travel to now, I have friends there.
Right.
Because I've traveled so much and I made so many friends, I met so many people, and I became really actually friendly. You know, I think that's one of the things that from the beginning when I left Iran, I remember a few of my old friends, I've known them for like 10, 12 years, and my conversation with them started more of like, you know, just talking with my hands and trying to make them understand. And now, you know, when they say, you know, the other day I was talking to one of them, she lives in Malaysia, and she was saying, hey, you remember when I met you first time, you couldn't even talk in like one word of English? I said, yeah, I remember. I remember. Yeah.
Wow.
So life has changed a lot for me. I've grown up. I feel like I started growing up when I left Iran. Yeah.
So if your family were really conservative, you went back to Iran, and then where did you go?
So I was, as I mentioned, I was in Dubai very briefly.
Yes.
Came back, left Iran again. I went to Malaysia.
Okay. And why did you leave the second time?
There was an incident where I was at a party, and then there was some problem happened with the government, and you know, I was at the party, which I wasn't allowed to be. So that time, I think for me was like, I can't stay here. I can't.
Would be dangerous.
Not only dangerous. I feel like living your life in so much of fear, and in so much of a fear of what's going to happen to me next, or you know, I'm going to say something that I'm going to put myself in danger. I don't think I want that for myself or for anyone else. And I think that was one of the main reasons that I decided to kind of make a new home and make a new life for myself. Yeah.
And why Malaysia? And were your parents okay with that at this time? Were they like,
my parents were never okay with anything that I did in my life. even today. My mom, she's more supportive now, because she's like, oh, she did it. Yeah. She's okay, you know. But at that point, they weren't okay with anything. I only had a support from my grandmother. She's not alive anymore, but she was the only one. She used to say, you know, just go. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, but just go. Do your thing. Figure out who you are. Figure out what you want to do. You know, who you want to be in this world, and don't listen to anyone.
Wow.
You know, not to me, not to your mother, or nobody. So my parents, they never been really supportive of what I do. But yeah, I mean, like, my mom, she's okay now, but my dad is not around. So it's only my mom. Yeah.
So you decided, why Malaysia?
So I had few friends who they used to study in Malaysia.
Right.
So Malaysia was one of the countries that with my Iranian passport, it was easier to kind of, you know, get visa and travel to. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was in Malaysia for a bit, for almost a year and a half. Then I was in Singapore brief for a few months.
Wow.
I was in Hong Kong, which became my base for 4 years. And then I was just traveling all over Europe from Hong Kong, because you know, as a model, they sent you for different contracts all over. And then while I was in Hong Kong, I did few commercials for India and Pakistan. So that's how it kind of became, oh, who's this girl? Is she Indian? She looks Indian, but she's not Indian. She's white, but she's not, you know. So I started getting offers for India.
Right.
So I came here for like a week for shooting for a campaign, or, you know, I did a fashion week. But then I went, it was more of back and forward. And I really started liking India.
Really?
And yes, and I mean, I've been to India before when I was a kid, but you know, I've never been here alone without, you know, family and working here. It's very different. So, and to be honest, after many years, I felt like I'm home. It has a lot of similarity, the culture, the way people are, you know, the city. So I asked my mother agency, I said, I think I want to move to India. You know, I want to give it a chance, and this place feels like home. So I moved here. This is 11 years ago, to be precise.
And how old were you?
Oh, well, I'm 35 now, 36 soon.
Oh my gosh, and how old were you then?
Yeah, I was in my
25?
20s. But also, like, I started coming to India when I was like 22, 21, 22, so it was more of back and forward.
And then
so
you
that's
moved.
why I tell a lot of people that I kind of grow up here.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I don't really count my life in Iran, because there's a lot of confusion in my head. There's a lot of like, why my school was like that, why people were like that. And then I start kind of figuring out who I am, what I like, what I can do, you know, what I can learn after I left Iran. So that's why I tell a lot of people I'm pretty much
Indian.
local.
Yeah.
Indian at heart. Yeah.
So you moved here when you were 24, 25. You couldn't speak Hindi, right?
Nope.
Okay. So where were you living by yourself, or you were living with a model apartment?
I was at the model apartment for a year and a half.
Okay.
But then, you know, the lifestyle of models was too much for me.
Okay.
Because I'm very competitive. If I put my head to doing something, I give my 110%. And I felt like I'm getting distracted by all the noise around. So I decided to have my own flat. Because I remember my first year when I just moved here, I was like, I'm going to learn Hindi. this is not cool. You know, I need to communicate with people around me.
Of course.
So I started doing like Hindi classes, talking to people, trying to, you know, I struggle a lot, trying to understand what's happening, who's who, what I'm doing. So I decided to have my own space.
Wow.
To focus at what I want to do more than, you know, all the other noise which is around.
What was the other noise?
The partying, I don't know, the gossiping, the going out, looking at oh, this girl is doing more jobs than me, or this one is this and this one is that.
It was too much.
Yeah, it's too much.
Which campaigns were you getting? Which brands were you working with?
I did a lot of jewelry brands when I came to India, and I think the second biggest stuff that I did was mainly salwar kameez and saris. Then one of my favorite commercial that I did when I moved here was Ever Youth.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like a very nice commercial. I still look at it, I'm like, wow, I was so young. Yeah. And the whole, you know, the transaction from being a model to actress, it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy?
No, it's not easy, you know, because first of all, I'm not from here.
Right.
I don't come from a filmy background. You know, I don't have any family here. So there are certain, now it has changed a lot from when I came to India.
Yeah.
Now it's, if you're good enough, you'll manage to be picked up by the, you know, the casting agencies, or you know, you go somewhere.
Right.
It is not really like, oh, I'm feeling lost, or I'm feeling like I'm not getting anything, or I'm not getting accepted for who I am.
Yeah.
But still, it was a big struggle to kind of get work, and I've been really lucky, to be honest. I had a quite an interesting career, and I managed to do a lot of different stuff, from TV, which was like daily soap. I did even reality shows here. I work with some of the biggest production house from, you know, Balaji and Netflix and Anil Kapoor's production house. So I did a lot of good work for being foreigner.
Okay.
And with the time and a year where foreigners weren't getting any prime kind
Prime
of
TV, yeah.
So it was more of like, you're just a pretty hot foreign girl, walk in, walk out. But I did manage to get some really good stuff, and you know, I was part of some pretty amazing projects. Yeah.
But why did you want to do acting compared to modeling? Because they're very different things, right?
Yeah,
I know people love to think that they're the same.
They're not the same.
But it's completely different. So when did you make that switch?
Well, I think for me it was more of like, this is interesting. It's more challenging.
Right.
Because as you mentioned correctly, they're very different.
Yeah.
You know, the industry is different. The kind of work you do is different. The hours that you put into, it's different. And especially in a country like India, you have dancing, you have the singing, and then, you know, you have all this romantic stuff which is going on, you know, so it's very different. And I think I took it as a challenge. And it was more of like, okay, I'm getting older, and I feel like acting is something which is kind of more interesting. And I feel like for someone like me, I wanted more challenge in my life. And for me, it was something like, oh, okay, so let's try this out as well and see how it goes. And that was pretty much how it was for me. And obviously, I started getting offers for films.
Right.
So my agency was like, oh, what do you think? Would you be able to learn Hindi or memorize the line or take the dancing class, which I was so horrible at. And I never enjoyed it. I mean, I did few songs and stuff, and I look all, you know, I'm dancing.
Right.
But believe me, the you know, the practice and the amount of like crying that I did.
Really?
Yeah. Because I told you I'm very competitive, right? So
yes.
I felt like, oh my God, why am I not getting this?
Yeah. What movies were you in? What big movies?
So there is this movie called Kya Kule Hum. There have 4 of this film. So it's one of the very successful, you know, Hindi films. And the last one that we did was quite a big opening for a film. Then I did Big Boss, which is the so I'm the first foreigner in Big Boss history that lasted from first day to last day.
Wow.
Because the show is Hindi spoken language, right? So you can't speak English. You're not allowed. They throw you out of the show. So I was there with my Hindi, and people loved me.
So you got these big movies.
Yeah.
You got Big Boss.
Yeah.
First to last episode.
Yeah.
Why'd you leave?
Why did I leave? To be honest, it's an industry that if I had a child right now, I would be worried if my daughter wants to become part of Bollywood.
Why?
Because the industry in India is very different. It runs into who you know and who's your father and who's your family. Yes, later on, it depends on how good you are and how talented you are, no doubt. But it's a very, very competitive, and it's a place where I love competition, you know. I love being challenged every single day, but certain challenges in life, it's not healthy for your mind. And I feel like for me, Bollywood was like that, because you know, I try to, you know, find the good people to work with. I try to work with a better production, and I'm not saying that everyone is the same. No,
yes.
There are some amazing people that I work with. You know, my last project where I wasn't even working as actress anymore, but one production house, they came to me and they were like, you know, it's a short part in a film, but we would love you to be part of it. And because I have so much of respect for them, I said yes. And to be honest, it was my first time working with them, but it was amazing. Really? And unfortunately in my career, I didn't have that many of those people. You know, I had people who were very disrespectful. They treat you like, you know, oh, she's a pretty girl, she's this, she's that. Oh, she doesn't have any support from anyone, so we can do whatever we want. We're gonna say what we want. And after a point, I found it quite unhealthy for my own, you know, mental health and for me being happy. And I wasn't happy anymore. I wasn't happy with the work that I was doing, with the people that I was hanging out. And you know, some people say, oh no, I'm going to become an actress, but I'm going to keep away from that whole, you know, the other side of it. You can't. You're either part of the industry or you're not. There is no
in between. When you say people would say things to you, people would treat you with disrespect, what do you mean by that?
Okay, I give you an example. I've been in India for like 11 years. I do have a set of friends who they've known me for so many years and they've stood by me. And you'll hear two different versions of Mandana. One is, oh my gosh, she's so amazing. Oh my gosh, she's lovely. She's this, she's that. She's great. She's a great friend. But then the second group of people will say, oh my gosh, she's very difficult to handle. She's very strong-headed, and you know, she doesn't listen, and she's very difficult to work with. And the second group of people are usually the ones that they want to bully you into things. They want to, I give you an example, they use lines like, oh, you don't understand, you're not Indian. This, in our culture, it works this way. And to be honest, what is the Indian culture? And when someone talks to me in that manner, I do not take it. I might be the most easiest person to work with, but when people like that, they come to my way, I'm like, I'm sorry, no. No, that's a no. And that's why, you know, here, when I say some people that disrespect or the way they speak about you, it's more of those, I don't know, guys or families where they kind of abuse the power that they have.
Right.
It could be anything. It could be money. It could be knowing
fame,
you know, fame or whatsoever. Yeah.
You talk about Bollywood. You said you need a famous father, a famous friend, or you need to know someone.
Yeah, you need
right?
to know someone.
What do you mean by that?
So it's like I don't know how. Like example, in the industry that I am right now, if you're good at your work and you know people, which is a very simple way of working in any industry, right?
Yes.
Your marketing.
Correct.
Right? Two parts of the marketing. One is your social media and the other stuff that you do, and the second part is who do you know.
Yes.
Right? And you kind of start growing because of the many friends or people that you know, right? And that's very normal. But in Bollywood, what happens is not that way. Okay. It's more of like, how can I explain it? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. We are friends, and you know, it's a very unsaid set of rules which everyone follows. Right. And you can see it when you are in the parties and when you hang around, you know, with that group, which I'm not interested. I don't really care. I don't care about the fame. I don't care about the money that I used to earn. I don't care about, oh, people gonna know me. And I used to care when I was younger. I like the whole shiny feel of Bollywood, but not anymore.
Yeah. You can sense it, right?
Yeah.
What was one of the worst stories that you experienced? It's one of the worst times, you experienced in working
Bollywood.
in the film. Yeah.
I've spoke about it actually online when I was sexually harassed by one of my director. Yes, I went on a record on Me Too. Also, what happened is that that whole incident happened, and I wanted to move forward with my life, so I didn't speak about it to anyone. And time goes on, and I'm reading a news one day. And there's this girl has spoken about someone, a director, who has harassed her. And suddenly I'm reading it, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It's like, so she's saying on that interview that, oh, he did this and he said that. And I'm going like, what the? And it felt like I'm just relived the whole incident again. And I didn't know the girl. So I found her number, I called her manager. I said, can I meet you for coffee?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, yeah, sure. That's so sweet of you calling. I said, no, I need to talk to you. So I took this girl for coffee, and, we spoke, and I started telling her. And then she said the same thing. And I was like, how that's even possible? You know, people say things like, oh, Me Too happened to me. And this girl was exactly explaining what has happened to me, but has happened to her. So anyhow, I decided to go on record, and obviously it created a lot of problems for me, because people were like, how she can talk about it now? It happened like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And I think that was one of the worst experience that I had when the incident took place, and when I spoke about it.
At the time when it happened, did any part of you want to speak about it? Because I know, and I've spoken about this before, in hindsight, when something happens, or let's say when you're telling me that this happened to me, in my head I'm like, you should stand up for yourself, you should have said something, like it makes me angry. So I'm like, I wish you had told me if we knew each other, so I would have said something. And in hindsight, I think when women are harassed or sexually assaulted or anything has happened, you feel like you should say something. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
But it's actually, you freeze. You're genuinely so shell-shocked what's happened that you can't physically do anything about it.
You can't.
Was that the same experience for you?
So I think at the time it wasn't that way that I was frozen or I was scared of it. I think it's more to do with a lot of shame. It feels like, did I send some signal that this person behaved like that? And I think, unfortunately, a lot of young girls, I was young, I was much younger than what I am, and I was very new into the industry. And when I told my agent, she was like, no, don't talk about it. You cannot. Because if you do, then your career before starting is going to be over. And the sad part is the same incident happened to me after a few years. So the gap between the first time and the second time happened was the time that girl spoke, right? So for me, it was like, I moved on with my life. I moved on, and I said, I want to get married, and I want to just leave the industry or whatsoever. But then when I heard the girl, when I heard that she's talking about it, and I was like, hold on a second, this happened like that many years ago. I experienced with someone else as well. And this is like a circle which is going around. So I decided to talk about it. And I feel like at that point, there was a lot of shame. And there was a lot of thinking about like, oh my God, I'm in India, and India is not how anywhere else, in Europe or US, people are taking up this case. The way they think about the girls who are victim, it's not the same way as anywhere else. But then I think at that point I didn't care. I was like, you know what, I want to talk about it, and I didn't care how people actually react to it. And to be honest, it created a lot of more damage than doing good to me.
No way.
So
Why?
I mean, if you read up about it, right? In India, when a few girls they come up and they spoke about Me Too, it wasn't very positive. There was a lot of like, oh, she was like this, oh, she was like that, oh, that girl, she doesn't have work, she's trying to become famous, and
gaslighting.
Yeah. So
how did that impact you then?
I think one of the reasons that I kind of decided to be away from the entertainment industry is because of that. Because a lot of your personal choices in life, it becomes a joke to people. And to be honest, if you're a part of any other industry, yeah, sure, there is going to be news about your work, but your personal life is not that much in in public, and not many people talk about it.
Yeah.
And where in industry, as actress or even a famous model, right, everyone wants to know about who you're dating and what happened, and all that can take a lot from you. And I feel like after a point you feel like you don't belong to yourself anymore.
Yeah.
And everyone knows so much about you, and they judge you, or you kind of, people think that they know you, but they don't, because no one knows what happens behind the door, and you can't judge people. You can't be like, oh, she's like this, or he is like that, or oh my god, this is what happened to her. No, you never know the whole story. So
gosh, there's so much to take in.
It is.
It's funny because recently I was on the train and I had my big bag next to me. And I turn around, and at the time I didn't notice he was watching me. I thought he was watching me because my bag was there and he wanted to sit down.
Yeah.
So I turned around, I said, do you want to sit down? And he said, I would love to. And I thought, that's a bit weird, but okay, cool, sit down. I'm on my phone, replying to my emails. It's 11:30 at night, right?
Oh, wow.
And this is in the UK.
Yeah.
But the train was full. There was loads of people on the train.
Yeah.
I'm replying on my phone, and he keeps trying to talk to me. You're so pretty, are you a model? What's inside your bag? Can you show me your bag? Why are you on your phone? Why are you always on your phone? Do you not believe in connection? All of this stuff,
It's
right?
a random guy.
Random guy, he's about 40. What job do you have? Do you have a boyfriend? Oh, of course you do. What does he do? Oh, of course he does. How could I have guessed? So every question was like getting a bit more intrusive. And then at one point he was like, look at the way your eyes are staring at the keyboard. You're typing so quickly. And I was just like looking at him thinking, what on earth? Now, I've been in a situation a few times, I wouldn't say it happens all the time if I'm honest, but a few times where I've thought, God, I wish I said something, because why am I staying quiet? The train was full. And everyone could hear that I was telling him like, sorry, and I kept saying, sorry, I'm just replying. Sorry, I'm just on my phone. Sorry, 1 second. Until one point I just turned around to him, and I can't remember what he said to me now, but I just said, look, I'm really sorry. I've tried to tell you nicely, but I don't want to talk to you. And he was like, you don't want to talk to me. And I was like, no, I've tried to tell you nicely. I'm really busy. I'm sorry. And he said, okay. And he walked away, right? But when I got off that train, I sprinted to the car. And I was so happy my brother picked me up, because normally I get a cab. And I was scared.
Yeah.
And even when I got home, the first thing I could think about was I said something for the first time ever in my whole life. But how many times do girls not say anything?
Yeah.
Because it's scary.
Yeah.
I don't know what possessed me that day to give me the confidence to say something. But how many other women have been through that? How many other women have been through a situation where the guy doesn't say okay? And he says, you know what, screw you. And he does something worse. Or, you know what, I'm going to follow you home.
Well, in India, a lot of those guys, the next time that they see the girl, they spray acid.
Right?
Like, yeah, last time you told me, like, I don't want to talk to you, and this is what you're going to get.
Exactly. And that's how I felt when I went home that day. I was angry. I wasn't like shaken up. I was more angry that, gosh, this happens to women all the time. We just don't hear about it. And like with your story, there must have been so many incidents of, people who just didn't say anything. Because if your own agent told you to keep quiet, then imagine how many other women were told to keep quiet. And then if you progress from that silence, you're rewarded, right? If your silence is rewarded and it's seen as a good thing, then you're always going to stay silent. And you're always going to keep that cycle going. And why would those people change?
Yeah, they won't.
So good on you for saying something, good on you for speaking up, because did he get, at least anything happen to him?
No. he was awarded with stuff.
Stop it.
And then he got more work, and that's just how it is.
Gosh, nobody knows. So you left Bollywood. How old were you then?
This is recently, just 2 years ago.
Okay, and then what did you decide to do?
So at that point, I didn't really know what I want to do, but I've always figured it out. I've always had a lot of interest from, I forgot to tell you actually, I had a restaurant.
Okay.
This is just before COVID. I opened an Iranian restaurant, because at that point I was kind of like, maybe Bollywood is not for me. Maybe this place is, I'm just like too we say it in Hindi, too mufat, too honest to be part of the industry like this. Maybe I should do something else. So I opened my Iranian restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah, so while I was doing a little bit of acting and modeling on the side, I had my cloud kitchen, which did really well. We had to shut the place because of COVID, and then I was opening a sit-down place, which never happened after COVID. But then, while I had the restaurant, I realized that I really enjoy interior design and anything to do with kitchen and accessorizing and books and cooking, all that. So I went to a design school in Mumbai.
Right.
Before that, also I traveled a lot in Europe, especially Milan. So I got in touch with few designers who they design furniture.
Okay.
I just kind of like shadow them. I try to understand like if I like it or if it's something that I want to do in future.
Yeah.
So I finished my course in Mumbai at Marangoni.
Wow.
And while I was doing the course, I worked with a design firm, shadowed few of the designers, and at the moment it's been almost a year that I'm officially working with the design firm. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so, as you're telling me this, did your parents kind of watch you, did your mom watch you through this transition? Or?
My mom doesn't really know the details in like my struggles.
Right.
She always thinks like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you, you're so strong, and you start this and you start that.
Right.
But obviously she doesn't see the nights that I've just been miserable, like crying my heart out and like being really like upset. And I'm kind of a person that I don't really show all the chaos behind the scene. So a lot of people, they see me, oh my gosh, she's so good, she's foreigner and she stayed in India for so long, she still has friends here, she still has a job, she's still thriving and she looked good. And but yeah, it's been difficult, but I feel like for me, I'm an artist. I don't count myself as I'm an actress or I'm a model or I'm owner of restaurant or I'm owner of this business. For me, I figured out now that I'm an artist and I show my art in different forms, and I believe everyone is an artist, because the way you live your life and the way you move forward in life, for me that's art. And when I look at someone, the way they dress, the way they eat, the way they travel or they hang out, that's the art of living, right? So for me now, I've stopped telling myself what I am or how or what defines me, because my job doesn't define me completely. And when I was an actress, I used to define myself as an actor, and that's it. There wasn't more to it. And I feel like every year when I'm getting older and hopefully wiser, I feel like that's changing. Yeah.
You mentioned you have moments where you're really upset and you're crying your eyes out and you have dark days, like we all do.
Yeah.
How do you overcome those days?
Well, I let my body do whatever it wants to.
Really?
Because, but there's one very like solid rule that I have for myself. It doesn't matter how horrible I'm feeling or heartbroken or it's the darkest day of my life, you have to come out of it. Staying there, it's not a good thing. Staying there and staying upset and staying, crying for days is not okay. Yes, you cry your heart out, you be upset, don't go to the parties, don't meet your friends, be snappy, all that, but you have to come out of it. And you need to think about, for me, I have few reminders.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, I'm almost 36 now. So I have these every 4 years or every 3 years, something has happened in my life which has changed my life entirely. Right? Okay. Different incidents. And at that moment, I thought I'm not going to survive that. Right? Because sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm going to die. This is it. And this is the end of it. Right? So I take a notes of those incidents. And then the next time, after a few years or after a few months, when I'm really feeling like it's the darkest day of my life, I go back and I'm like, look at it. You did it. You survived it. So what? Let's figure out a way. Let's just find our way back and go back to it again. So for me, it's that.
Always remind yourself how
Yeah.
far you've come.
Yeah.
I always share that as well. You know, if you've done it before, you can do it again.
Yeah.
And every time you'll feel it's a new challenge, but that's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's meant to be a new challenge.
Yeah.
Because if it was the same, then you
Yeah.
wouldn't be difficult.
No, for sure. And for me, it's like one of my biggest reminders that when I left Iran, I didn't have money. I didn't know a language. I didn't have any friends. I had no idea what is the world, or you know, where is India, or where is this country or that
Yeah.
country. I didn't know anything, but I did it, and I was much younger, right? But then, if I have a problem, whatever it is now,
Yeah.
I have the resources. More than that, I have friends who are like closer than my family to me. I can speak different languages now, and I'm sorry, it's okay. I mean, it's not the end of the world. You know, you're gonna be figuring out and kind of move forward. For me, it's
Wow.
that. Yeah.
I love that. What amazing 3 things to
Thank
remind
you.
yourselves of.
Thank you.
Honestly, you are so inspiring.
Thank
you
you
are
so
so
much.
beautiful inside and out.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your story, because you said you don't really share much. So
Yeah.
it must be hard to sometimes be vulnerable and open and tell everyone everything. But
Yeah, it is.
I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Everyone, and thank you so much for listening and watching this podcast. Wherever you're listening or watching, if you could please press the follow, like, and subscribe button, it would really mean the world to me.